Finally, an answer to the age-old question, which comes first, the chicken or the egg roll? Easy! Just eat whichever one's closest. The Sensation Salad and Filet Sandwich Meal are back at Zaxby's. Both feature our famous hand-breaded chicken, crispy wontons, Asian slaw, and citrus vinaigrette. And each comes with its very own egg roll for a limited time only at Zaxby's. Try them with fried pickles while supplies last.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
wake up! Wake up! Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
and this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, proudly presented by Zaxby's Indescribably Good. Shout out to Michael Gerber, a.k.a. the Gerb55, Corey. Tweets at us, listen to Wake Up Warchant every morning with Aslan and Corey. Now, and this was, in the evening, now time for some Zaxby's, hashtag Go Knowles. Also included a GIF of a gentleman holding up 2 large sackfuls of Zaxby's. Probably that family fun pack. Probably the chicken fingers. That's what the Clark family would throw down on, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, again, though, salads are a big hit. The mushrooms are a big hit. But yeah, when in doubt, you go the chicken finger route. Zaxby's is the truth, man. It's not an accident, guys, that it's around and thriving.
Warchant.com, meanwhile, around and thriving for, golly, I don't know, like 30 years or so? How long you been doing this, Gene? Use the promo code WARCHANT30 for 30 free days of access to the website. You're listening to us on YouTube. We appreciate it. Hit the thumbs up button. And hopefully you're listening to this in a regular podcast form. For whatever reason, our Friday podcast did not go out to the people, Corey. I don't know. I need to follow up on that. I did send an email to the support staff folks at our podcast host, like, the people didn't get their pod. What is the deal? So hopefully we're back up and running. Speaking of running, shout out to John Pack, right? Florida State
sure,
alumnus.
yeah.
Low
Well,
amateur at the U.S. Open.
Speaking of golfing, not running.
Did I say running?
You did. You said speaking of running, I thought.
Oh.
That was really impressive. He was the only one that made the cut out of all the amateurs, which is a really high honor. That guy's the truth, man. Just like Zaxby's. He might be the next one. Berger obviously is really good. We all know about Koepka. Jonas Blix has won a couple of times. I think Jack McGuire is a kid that's going to have a good future on the tour. It's like it's crazy, man. It's like what the NBA is doing. It's what like Florida State is doing the NBA. They're kind of flooding the PGA Tour as well.
There we go. I think I was trying to mean like in the running, although I don't know how much he fell behind Bryson DeChambeau, the ultimate winner, but that was my rookie segue. It was bad.
Right.
Let's continue the theme of bad news. Happened over the weekend. You're all aware of this. Your head football coach, our head football coach, Mike Norvell, on Saturday revealed that he had tested positive for COVID in the most recent round of team testing, which we assume would be Friday because they are testing 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. His wife and daughter both also tested. They tested negative. I think we heard that this wasn't just like a one-off. I don't think a false positive is a possibility in this case. I do think they tested him more than once, and it was confirmed that he does have COVID. With that said, he will not be the acting head coach when Florida State takes on Miami Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. down in Miami Gardens. As if this team program needed any more curveballs or any more incline added to the slope and the hill they're trying to climb up. They will be without their head coach going to probably the most important game of their season. I know I don't want to be too reactionary. I know it's the second game of the season, but man, like if you were to be able to beat Miami, all the bad feelings from that Georgia Tech game are quickly erased. But they would be just that much more compounded if you're not able to win, and it's going to be that much more difficult, I would think, with just him not being there. And we'll find out how they plan on addressing that as we will speak to him on Monday. So do check out Warchant. We also will speak to Chris Thompson, who is the acting interim head coach. Corey, what was your thoughts when you first caught news of that Saturday?
Well, my thought, and I wrote it in the column I wrote, is like, why would Florida State fans that even on a Saturday when your team isn't playing, you wouldn't figure out a way to have to shake your head at something or get bad news? Like they can't even avoid a bye week without feeling bad about the program on a Saturday. And then it was like, yeah, of course, the Florida State head coach is the first major program coach to get it.
And on the week where game day is going to be down in Miami.
Yeah,
and
all
this
of it.
game's the
Yeah,
prime time.
exactly. It's just, and it's not like I think Norvell's out. Again, like I always say, licking doorknobs or just catching sneezes. He seems to be pretty safe with what he's doing. But hey, man, he got it somehow. He caught it, which is just kind of part. I hate to be Debbie Downer, but hey, man, it's been a program for that lately. It's just kind of par for the course these days. The coach has it.
Well,
Warren Thompson's got plenty to tweet about now. Can't even keep my head coach healthy. So it's good times.
What with DJ Matthews? I would have seen like a live reaction of DJ Matthews. I think would have probably been mildly entertaining. I guess some people might think, well, how the heck is Chris Thompson going to be the coach? If he's the deputy head coach, clearly he's around Mike Norvell all the time. Surely he would have contracted. But hey, everyone is getting tested, so he obviously has not tested positive for it.
So we do get to talk to Norvell?
Yeah. We're going to speak to him at noon, followed by Adam Fuller, and then we will get Chris Thompson, your acting head football coach.
So I'm legitimately, and I'm sure somebody will ask this, I'm legitimately curious what he can do on game day. Because he said he's asymptomatic. Now, if he's feeling bad, obviously he doesn't need to be worrying about a football game. But if he's all right, or all right, quote unquote, he can watch the game. Can he not? I mean, texts are instantaneous. FaceTime is instantaneous. Can he not be set up on a FaceTime or a Zoom in the booth?
Yeah, but you also have a 10-second delay, though, if you're watching the television feed. You'll have a 10-second delay.
But, if, say they call a timeout, it's 4th and 3 in the fourth quarter. Down by 3 at the Miami 30.
Okay.
And you call a timeout. Can you not get Norvell's opinion? Could he say, guys, we need to go for it, and this is the play we should run?
My understanding in speaking with Ira about this was they will likely – so you have your 10 assistant coaches and then your full-time head football coach. So you have 11 coaches. It sounds like they'll elevate Thompson to head coach and then probably promote one of the analysts or one of the quality control guys to becoming an assistant to then fill out their allotted 11 coaches. So I would not think that he was going to have some sort of in-game involvement.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Because I wonder, they let Hugh Freeze coach from a hospital bed.
They did.
Joe, not in a hospital, though.
Right.
He wasn't remote. But in this age of doing everything remotely and everybody working from home anyway, I feel like you could make an exception. And if the head coach can figure out the communications where he can communicate almost instantaneously within 8 or 10 seconds, just for big decisions like Blackman in, Blackman out, go for it, kick the field goal. I feel like he should be able to do that. I don't know.
We'll find out. Yeah, I'm sure we'll definitely ask and see what sort of.
I personally feel like
have.
he should be able to drive to the game and go sit up in one of the empty rows where nobody's sitting by himself, quarantined, and hold up signs that he wants the plays to be. As long as he's not around anyone, breathing on anyone. But I'm sure that would be frowned upon.
Again, they should put them in the injury tent. There should be like the injury tent, the COVID tent, where you can sit in that. It's clear. And you can see what's going on. You got your headset on in there, and then no one's within 6 feet of you. You're distant. But that's where we sit right now. I do wonder, and I said this to Ira, and he kind of laughed it off, but it's Mike Norvell's recipe. It's his ingredients. But Chris Thompson ultimately is going to be the cook, the chef on that night. So I do wonder if there'll be how much flavor we'll get of Chris Thompson's sort of, maybe desire to establish the run a little bit more. Obviously I know they're going to have a game plan. They're going to script stuff. But when the bullets start flying and it's the second quarter and maybe you haven't had a first down in 2 or 3 possessions, if he does he have the authority to be able to sort of deviate, and if he's got a feel for something, try to execute that? Because, again, this is a guy that he was hired so fast, he didn't even have really a job. It was just, hey, I trust you. I appreciate what you bring to a football program and a locker room so much. I'm going to hire you, and I have no idea where I'm going to put you. Are you in? And he's like, yeah, I'll leave Fort Worth, Texas for this. So surely you'd think he'd have latitude, or at least the trust of Mike Norvell to maybe see what he thinks is best to try to execute. But then ultimately you have a head coach who's still around. So I do wonder how that dynamic's going to work.
Yeah, I don't think like Norvell, because Norvell obviously can still try to hammer out a game plan, even if he's not watching practice. So he and Dillingham will have a game plan going in. I don't know that Chris Thompson, midway through the first quarter, is like, "That's it, boys. I'm the head coach. We're running."
Look at me. I am the captain now.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you, look at me. So, yeah, Travis Jay's our quarterback from here on out. He doesn't have that kind of authority. I foresee it being Dillingham. It's going to be Norvell Sunday to Friday night, and then, really till Saturday at 7, and then Dillingham takes over offensively. Chris Thompson's more will be for the decisions I was talking about, like, when to punt, when to go for it, things like that. And what I'm interested about too is if you're making a quarterback change, I think that's all Dillingham now. Like, this is Dillingham's this is going to be his entire play call. This is all him. And I think the decisions they make as far as personnel will be all Dillingham as well.
I'm kind of interested to see where we're going to hear from Coach Norvell from. Like, is he going to be at his house? Is he still going to be, like, at the facility? So apparently, since he did test positive, now this is the crazy thing of all this, it's a 10-day window. He follows the same protocols as the players, best of our understanding. So probably next Tuesday, Wednesday, he would then be sort of, I guess, fully cleared, if you will. But had he been, like, had his wife tested positive for this, and obviously, been around his wife, that would have been like the 14-day window would have sort of kicked in. So I guess, it could be worse, Florida State fans. It could be worse. So it is interesting to see how this is all going to work out. We'll find out soon enough on Monday. But, I don't really know. It's obviously not going to be a help. But I don't know. Do you think we'll be sitting here in a week from now if it's a one-possession game and lamenting and ruing, well, man, if we would have the head coach there, maybe we're not in this situation. I don't ultimately know how much it's going to affect the outcome of the game. It's surely going to affect the preparation, though.
Yeah, it's not good. It's just not good. It's not something you can just dismiss and say, this isn't a figurehead head coach. This guy's got his hands in everything, and it's certainly not good. And obviously we didn't see it in the opener, but just his involvement in the game day stuff and his involvement in everything from getting him ready to stretching to the halftime speech to the pregame speech. Now he's 0 for 1 and all that with Florida State, but this is his program, and it's just what else could go wrong that his second game coming off a loss when they need him the most, and he's been preaching all summer about you got to be smart, you got to take care of things, you got to want to play football, you got to stay away from this virus, and then he gets it. Miami week of all weeks, so. It isn't something to dismiss. I think there's also could be I don't know. You hope that the players don't think like this, but man, even our head coach can't not get it. Does this even feel like a real game now? Yeah. Like our head coach is on his couch, and we're having to play this game. You wonder how if that affects the mindset. It shouldn't. They're competitors. They should go out and compete. But when I do think they believe in him for the most part, those guys in that locker room, and for him not to be there, I think they view him as their leader, and he's not there. So that's going to be it's going to be something to watch for sure. But it is something that could go sideways pretty quick if they get down early, 14 or 17 to nothing. Do you just mail it in because the head coach isn't even there? I don't know.
I do wonder if that almost has him be like, hey, Chris, this is the script. This is what we want to do. But, hey, you're out there. You're in the midst of all this. Do what you – because, can you imagine, Chris Thompson with his hand over the headset, pulling his microphone, what'd he say? Okay, guys, all right, so it's 3rd and 6. These are the 2 plays we're going to run. If we don't get it on 3rd down, we're going to go for it on 4th down. This is what Mike said. It's just what a crazy situation to be in. But I guess we should not have expected anything less. Just thought maybe one of the players, a starter, might have gone down. But
I made the joke with someone this weekend about it when they're like, "Wow, Florida State's." He's like, "What else could go wrong with this program? The head coach has COVID," and I'm like, "Yeah." And I was like, "It does feel like they made in 2012. Someone at Florida State, maybe it was Jimbo, made a deal with the devil, just went to a crossroads." Maybe he and Jameis were both at the crossroads together, and they saw Satan, old Beelzebub, roll up in that dirt road, the dirt crossroads. They made a deal with him for that 2013 season, and now he's just collecting debts. And it's gotten to the point where it's like, all right, man, enough's enough.
Right.
Like Florida State's paid their debts, man. They paid their dues. Let's turn this thing around. Not only do you lose to a team and score 13 points, and the next week they get obliterated by 30, and that team scores 6 or has 600 yards against that defense, but then your head coach catches COVID. Like, of course it did. What Anyway.
What stood out in your mind most from Saturday? I mean, you hinted at it. UCF took care of Georgia Tech 49-21. Meanwhile, down in Miami, up in Louisville, Miami takes care of Louisville 47-34. I mean, I guess, do you have an eye more to the future and kind of worry about what Miami could be, or do you still have Georgia Tech stuck in your craw, and then you see UCF hang 49 and move the ball up and down, score 21 points in 2 different quarters, and practically have nearly 700 yards of offense?
Yeah, both really. It really was legit. I don't mean to hedge there, but it really was 50-50. Now, with that said, Georgia Tech was in that game. They had cut it to 28-21. I think Georgia Tech can still be a pretty solid team. There might not be any shame at all to losing that team at the end of the year. Only scoring 13 points, there's some shame there. But somebody tweeted at me about it too. Like, what does this say about Florida State that UCF did what it did? And I'm like, look, man, UCF has a much better quarterback. And I'm not just putting all the blame on Blackman, because it's not that. I do think if you just switched quarterbacks, that Florida State scores more points than it did in the opener. But also, that's an offense that lives and breathes. That's a program that lives and breathes offense and has for years. It's used to scoring a ton of points. It just is. It doesn't go into a game hoping to score a few touchdowns. It goes into a game thinking it's going to score 50. And when they get rolling, they're incredibly hard to stop. And I was not surprised that Georgia Tech lost to UCF, and I certainly wasn't surprised that UCF put up a lot of points and yards, because they do that to everyone. Florida State doesn't do it to anyone anymore. So until you get that changed, that stuff will never end. That stuff will never really bother me. Not bother me. It won't be alarming. The performance in and of itself against Georgia Tech by Florida State was alarming, not what other teams did to them.
Yeah, I wasn't too bothered by the Georgia Tech game just because what they did, like in the first part of the second half. I mean, I think they shut them out in the third quarter. Georgia Tech shut out UCF in the third quarter. So I was like, yeah, man, Jeff Collins is a really good defensive mind. He's now their head coach. So the fact that he was able to slow down UCF coming out of half gives you a little bit more solace that, your team with a couple more deficiencies than UCF has was not able to kind of get the ball rolling either. So you sort of see that parallel. But it just comes back to, I don't know, how many kids on the UCF roster would have picked UCF over FSU? I'm not going to say all, but I don't know, what, like 75%?
Would have picked FSU over UCF.
Yeah. And here they are.
Probably more than that. Yeah.
Here they are, common opponent, week 2. So theoretically, Georgia Tech's even better than they were when they played Florida State, and still, only had a little bit of a challenge there in part of the second half, and then were able to kind of cruise by. This is, somebody posted something on YouTube. I shouldn't even read it to dignify the comment, but there's like people that are saying, why are we blaming this all on James Blackman? And I think you've actually probably at least a half dozen times at some point in a show been like, listen, it's not James's fault we lost the game, but it's the most important position in team sports. And it's a glaring weakness in terms of the production you're getting out of that spot. And who's to say Tate Rodemaker's better? I know I'm telling you all that I think Chuba Purdy's going to be better. I could totally be wrong. Probably am wrong. But again, my whole argument has just been the quickest way for this team to turn things around. You see the teams that play well. You see the teams that aren't playing well on your TV on Saturdays. Teams that got the good quarterbacks are the ones that are moving the ball down the field and are winning football games. I know that sounds really Captain Obvious sort of stuff. But I just don't know, at what point do you think that things are going to turn around? And it's not even so much like get back to where you were. It wasn't like we never saw this quarterback as an elite quarterback. He never established himself as an elite quarterback and regress. And we're like, all right, well, he'll find his way back. There has to be a certain point where you imagine, let's see what somebody else can give us. Let's get somebody with a different sort of skill set, with a different mindset. Somebody that might look to run when things are breaking down around them. Someone that might feel a little bit more comfortable making that throw into some traffic because they don't have the scars of throwing interceptions and getting battered in the pocket. Those are the sort of things that I think are relevant and valid things to bring up and not scapegoating James Blackman.
Well, yeah, and nobody really played well around him either. It wasn't all on James Blackman. Look, man, again, if we're just going to compare it to what UCF does, that kid plays with a ton of confidence at quarterback because the success breeds confidence. And I know they play in a lower level, but it's like guys that hit in a Coors Field back in the day, back before they did all the humidor stuff with the balls. Even still, though. There's always guys. Those guys. It's not like they went on like Larry Walker went on the road and hit 210 or 180. He was an awesome hitter on the road too. So was Todd Helton. But what they did in Colorado was otherworldly, and they went on the road and now became like perennial all-stars. It breeds confidence. That kid probably wasn't. It was Gabriel, right? Is his name?
Dylan Gabriel.
You know, it's not like they. I just think when you captain an offense where you're used to scoring a lot of points, and everybody on the offense is used to scoring a lot of points and having success, there's a belief, and there's also a scheme there that they believe in, and it works. They execute it really well. They believe in it at practice. They believe in it in games. They know they're going to go on a run. Florida State is the exact opposite. They always wait for the other shoe to drop. They never go on a run. They haven't been on a run since somewhere in Dalvin's last year was the last time it felt like the offense was just clicking, and you knew it was likely going to score. The Ole Miss game, maybe that was the last time.
Yeah.
That offense was great, and it feels like that was the last time an offense was looked like that at Florida State. But I would say that look, he did it at Memphis. Like. I can promise you this because we saw it last year. I don't think Florida State right now, their offense would score. What would you think they'd score on Central Florida? 26, 28?
No.
Maybe
Probably 16 or 18 points.
Yeah, but Central Florida's never great defensively, and Georgia Tech would have scored 40-something if they would have kept turning.
Okay,
if they wouldn't have.
That's
not
fine.
turned the
That's
ball
fair.
over.
That's fair.
So,
You're right.
but I don't have confidence that this Florida State offense would score more than maybe 30 points against UCF. I have a ton of confidence that Memphis's offense would. Worse players theoretically, lesser heralded players. He will get his offense to execute at a pretty high level. I do think that. It's hard to do it first game with a brand new team without a spring. Again, it's excuses. It's fine. We can say what we want. It was going to be a struggle even if they had 30 springs. They could have had 100 spring practices. It was still going to be a bit of a struggle. But I do think that he will get this offense to a point eventually. It's not going to score like UCF scores. Only Clemson does that in the ACC. That's not going to happen against in a Power 5 program that has good defensive linemen like the ACC does a lot of years. But it's going to get perennially good. I wholeheartedly believe that. I do. I think he's going to recruit to the offense. They're going to get guys that they know can run the system. And if he would have gotten his whole Memphis offense to transfer with him in December, there no transfer rules. They can all suit up.
Yeah.
What do you think they score against Georgia Tech?
That's a bizarre question, but it's actually pretty spot on. I know what you're trying to say. Yeah.
But it's not like he can't coach.
Way more than 13. Yeah, well,
yeah.
That's my concern. Like we had this in the group text was, it wasn't like the offense went out there and James Blackman got sacked every single drop back within 1.5 seconds. Like he had time at certain points. Guys got open downfield at certain points. He found them open at certain points, but they dropped the ball. I mean, literally, there's drop passes.
Yep.
So the offense,
all that kind of stuff.
This offense wasn't like inept. It wasn't like an inept offense that had no clue what to do, no plan B. Nothing was opening up down the field. It was just running its head into a wall. But I mean, you could probably argue. I don't know. Maybe last year they did that. Maybe we should. I just think I did not feel anywhere near as deflated after the Virginia Tech game, or after the Georgia Tech game, as much as I did the Virginia Tech game.
Yeah.
So I think the offense looked considerably different. Not
well,
even
yeah,
so
and
better,
I think
I
think we made that point though. Like
rhythm.
there were plays to be made in that Georgia Tech game. They weren't for a variety of reasons. It's not all on number one, but there were plays to be made that weren't made. Many points left out there, including a 70-yard touchdown that hits your best receiver in the hands, and another one that was dropped at the 10. There are plenty of plays to be made out there against Virginia Tech. You didn't have a feeling like, oh man, there's just a hair away, just inches
Yeah.
Just inches. It wasn't like that at all. I didn't feel like and so that's the difference. You saw a scheme and a plan that if it's executed well, I really do think can work.
All right, well, what do we think about Miami?
Real quick, I meant to bring this up. So did you watch the Georgia Tech game, though?
It was on in the background. I wasn't intently paying attention.
So I didn't watch much because I watched most of the second half, but I didn't watch much of the first half. But I really tuned in when it was 28-21, right after Georgia Tech had scored, and because I was busy watching Brady's rec ball team get crushed. I'm not watching it. I was coaching it. I was in the middle of it. It was my fault. The game plan was terrible.
Do I fold? Can I fold on Corey
They
Clark?
just folded. Yeah, it was ridiculous. They just gave up. It's not the culture I'm trying to build. And so Georgia Tech cuts it to 28-21. They've got all the momentum that you can possibly have in a stadium full of 11,000 people. UCF throws a deep shot down the right sideline. He's wide open. He's got 3 steps on his DB. They overshoot it by 2 yards. They come back, get a first down somehow, and then the very next play, same exact play, and they hit a 60-yard pass. The guy just gets by the corner again, and the quarterback, after he kind of learned a lesson, like, I don't want to outthrow him again. I don't want to overthrow him again. So he leads them perfectly, drops it in there, and it's a 60-yard pass, and Georgia Tech never recovered. And that's the kind of stuff that good offenses and good quarterbacks do. So anyway, we can go on to Miami now.
On to Miami. It is Miami week after all. They have a new chain. I don't know, kind of looks like a gun to some people.
It does. That's what Stephanie said. We were watching it, and she's like, why do they have a gun? Is that a gun on their well, she didn't call it a turnover chain. Yeah. She said, why does that necklace have a gun on it, and why are they wearing it? Yeah, it did look a lot like a gun, but it's the state of Florida, folks.
The lady
never realized how much
the
state of Florida does kind of look like a gun.
It is. It's America's hanging wang, and Pinellas County is the trigger. Wick City, baby, represent. Yep. But yeah, they polish it and stuff too. I'm sorry, I know. I mean, I can't say anything positive about this team, especially when we're playing them. But that chain is just amusing to me. They look a little bit problematic, though. They look a little bit problematic, I think.
Yeah. It was the one thing I will say, and De'Aaron King is. I'm not diminishing what that kid has done at all. They got 2 big-time transfers, by the way. That kicker is great. I didn't even know they got a new kicker.
I didn't realize
but he was apparently
a transfer.
Yeah, he was a Groza finalist in 2018 at FIU, I think.
Look at that.
And his dream in high school was to kick for Miami. They didn't recruit him, and then this year in the offseason he transferred, and he drilled 4 field goals. One was 48, another was like 54.
57. It was as long.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, 4 for 4 on field goals, 5 for 5 on extra points. He outscored both
and
Georgia Tech and Florida State last week.
They haven't had a good kicker in a long time.
Well, that guy, the block at the Rock, that Badgley guy was a good kicker.
Oh, yeah, he was pretty good. Yeah, I guess he was. I was thinking to myself, like, when was the last time that Miami had a better kicker than Florida State?
Carlos
Huerta.
Huerta.
It's probably, which is a long time ago, and which is really weird when you consider the rivalry and how games end.
Right.
In this rivalry a lot of times, but Florida State's had a huge advantage at kicker for decades, and yet they don't anymore, and they certainly don't have an advantage at quarterback. But I will say, watching that game, you can look at that final score, and it's scary, and I get it. I've never seen a defense look, and I was at the Louisville-Florida State game against Lamar Jackson. I've never seen a defense look like Louisville's did on Saturday night. That was incredible. They gave up, the first touchdown of the second half, Louisville goes down, scores a touchdown, cuts it to, I think, 20-14.
Yeah.
And literally, Miami just runs a zone read play, off tackle. De'Aaron King just gives it to his running back, Cameron. Cameron runs around right edge, and there is nobody there. It looks like Louisville was playing with 6 guys on the field, and he just runs around right end. And literally, I don't know that a Louisville player ever got in the picture. Maybe at the 40 when the safety had to come all the way over and he didn't get him. So anyway, that was the most incredible thing I'd ever seen on a college football field until Miami's next touchdown, where again. All they do is run Jalen Knighton out from the backfield, who, by the way, is a former Florida State commit and is good. They run him out on the backfield. Nobody goes with him. Nobody. He's the only – they have 2 linebackers on that side. They both just stay home, and even though there's nobody else in the pattern, and they just look at the – it's like they both were spying De'Aaron King and let the freshman dude zip by them. It didn't even pay attention to him. So he lobs a pass to him. And it's, again, literally on that one, there was not another defender in the picture. Have you ever seen a college football touchdown where there isn't on a 75-yard play where a defender never shows up on the screen? Ever? Not even like diving at the heels?
Right.
Or being blocked out of bounds? Like literally there was
that
nobody in the picture to even be chasing them.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And then their last touchdown on a 3rd and long, they leave Miami's best target, the tight end who's good, wide open in the middle of the field. Nobody, again, within 15 yards of them. So my point is, I sound like Leonard Hamilton then. So my point to you is this. They're good. They're better. Their offense is much better than it's been in years. But they're not that good. They're not 50 points, 500 yards good. They got gifted. Now, they took advantage of it. Florida State doesn't.
They put stress on defense.
Yeah, they absolutely do. But they were gifted those 3 long, long touchdowns. Now, and that doesn't even mean that if Louisville had played it well, they wouldn't have still gone down the field and scored. But I've just never seen 3 touchdowns quite like that. Florida State, you have to hope and expect, really, will at least make them work a little bit for their points. Like, Georgia Tech moved the ball up and down the field, but they had to work. They had to put successive plays together, successive first downs together to move the ball down the field. They did not just get gifted a walk-through touchdown, which Louisville did for Miami really on 3 separate occasions. But yeah, they're good. That's gonna be a problem, I dare say.
I just think, we're comparing Jeff Sims and De'Aaron King is like comparing, I don't know, Charlie to Thad Busby or something.
I don't know if the disparity is that great, but he's good, man, and he does put pressure on the defense. He only ran for 9 yards in that game, but you have to account for him. And moving forward, that's why I just think with not a good offensive line, if you really want to establish a running game, you've got to have a mobile quarterback, and not even so much because you expect them to run for 130 yards. You have to have the threat of the quarterback keeping the ball in the read. You just have to. And not only the threat of it, like I guess there's always a threat that Blackman can pull it and run for a first down. If Chubba Purdy pulls it, he could run for a touchdown. That's the difference. There is a real threat when he has the ball and pulls it. There isn't one with Blackman. There is one with Travis too. He can do that too. That's how I think you're going to be able to put the most pressure on a defense this year for this Florida State team. And to slow down that rush. Slow down that. And that was another thing. Miami's defense wasn't certainly all that impressive.
No, but I think Louisville's got some playmakers. I think they have a little more explosive playmakers.
That running back is unbelievable. Where is he from Florida?
Hawkins?
Yeah.
I don't want to look it up.
I'm going to guess. I'm just guessing he's from Dade County. I literally have no idea. But Louisville recruits Florida well, that dude is a monster.
It's just crazy how terrible that program was when Bobby Petrino was on his way out, and they have some semblance.
I tell you what, man.
I
follow Mark Ennis on Twitter and reading some of his his tweets, but then the replies to him.
Yeah.
They're not all that fired up about Satterfield, especially what that looked like on defense last night. Saturday night. That was an embarrassment, much like the Falcons were last night.
Defensively, Miami didn't really even grade out all that high. They graded out 62 on defense, but their offense also graded out at 66. So I don't know how does that even work? They grade out 84 passing. They grade out overall 65. I'm trying to pull up Hawkins. Look at that. He's from Cocoa Beach.
Okay.
So he's from Florida.
I literally, folks, I promise you that wasn't a game. I did not know that. I just assumed. I just assumed that he I don't know what it means, but he runs like a South Florida kid. And he's like, I texted Ira. You might have been on the group text too, but you were busy, I guess.
Yeah.
We don't need to get into that.
They got the wide receiver though, Tutu Atwell, who's from South Florida. Who's
oh my gosh, he's awesome too.
Yeah. So.
But what they did, which should be encouraging for Florida State fans, is as I wrote in the column, they got those guys are electric. They're NFL players. I think Hawkins is it Hawkins or Dawkins? Hawkins might be the best offensive player in the ACC, not named Trevor Lawrence. That kid is so you can't. He ran for 150 yards. Louisville ran for over 200 as a team. You can't expect that if you're Florida State because they don't have that kid. That kid is a game changer, and so is Atwell. I think they do have a game changer at wide receiver. Florida State does, but he's a different type of guy. Atwell is just one of these slippery slot guys that just breaks ankles in his moves. He's awesome. But what Louisville did that should give Florida State fans a little bit of hope, not much. We know that. By the way, Miami's only a 9-point favorite, but which is crazy that I'm saying that as host of a Florida State show. That hey, feel good, guys. You're not even a double-digit underdog. When we went through 4 of them never being underdogs, Louisville got their best players the ball. I think it was like 34 times, and they got over 300 yards of total offense out of those 2 guys. Yeah. Which, number one, Florida State, you could the counter to that is, well, Florida State doesn't have those 2 guys. But Miami, even knowing who Louisville would go to, even knowing who they had to take away, couldn't take away Louisville's 2 best players at all. They had a field day. So that kind of bodes well a little bit that you also have another week of game plan. You've got another week of game film to watch. And if you could try to figure out how Louisville got Atwell so open, got their best players the ball in space, there are holes there in that Miami defense. The issue is they are good up front. Now, they gave up 500 yards. They gave up 200 yards rushing. Again, that running back isn't normal. And they gave up 34 points. But they also created a ton of pressure. Cunningham ran for his life a lot. He also stood in the pocket well enough at times to make the plays downfield. But they are going to create a ton of pressure on your quarterback, whoever it is. That's the downside. But if you can stand in there, and if you can withstand the pressure, there are definitely plays to be made against that defense. It's a big if, though.
Man, they had one of their guys, their weak side linebacker graded out at 95 on pass rush.
Who was that?
Anything, Zach McLeod.
McLeod, yeah. And is it Phillips, the other transfer, the defensive end? Did they have he's the kid that was like the number 3 player in the country
Jalen
from
Phillips
UCLA.
from UCLA, yeah.
What did he grade out at?
He was only at 57 on pass rush.
Oh, really?
He graded out 59 overall defensive.
Oh man, yeah, he was noticeable a few times. Yeah. They're gonna be a bear. They're gonna be tough. They're gonna bring pressure, and they're gonna bring more than 4 a good bit. So, but hey, you live by the blitz, and what else do you do by the blitz?
You die by the blitz, Corey Clark.
That's right. And it's not going to be a slow death either.
Man
it's going to be a fast death.
Man coverage out there. Let Tomorian eat. That was interesting. You talk about Louisville getting the ball into their playmakers' hands. There was that one series, and it was after James and Tomorian had, I guess, an animated conversation on the sideline where I think the first 2 plays of that next drive were all just screen passes to Terry. And, like, he caught him and moved him and got a first down on it. So maybe maybe
nothing dynamic, but they did move the ball. They at least got him the ball, so that was good.
So 9-point dog, that's it, huh?
That's what I saw. I might be wrong, but I thought that's what I saw. They were 9 points.
What I was trying back. Think what do we say? I think with double digits in 18. I think when they went down there and almost shocked them, it was double digits.
Yeah, probably.
So
no, I'm just saying it would be nice if Florida State was maybe not underdogs every time they played somebody good by double digits or close to it.
Well, it's only been like 3 years, man. Let's not act like it's been.
I know, but this ain't Ole Miss. We're not used to mediocrity around here, and I won't stand for it. If I stand for it, then the standards change. We don't have that. Wake Up Warchant owes that to you guys to expect a high standard, even when it's not a great product on the field. We're not going to lower our standards.
14-point dog in 2000. We only had 200 yards of total offense that day.
Oh yeah, I remember.
They looked so good in the first half, though.
Didn't Gavin have a TD catch in that game?
First touchdown of the game was my guy.
I think that was his first touchdown of his career, and maybe his last.
Only, I think.
Yeah, legitimately, it might have been. And then obviously DJ had the punt return, and then it went. And they also had the touchdown taken away that should have counted, but it did not.
And who's to say that would have held up, though?
Well, yeah, they would have found a way. Like that's what I was telling them today. Sunday watching the Falcons.
What happened there, man?
It's the Falcons, man. You got to recover an onside kick, but you knew it was going to come down to that. It wasn't like the Falcons were going to get a stop. They never ever do. That dude came in as a defensive guru. Man, I just wish they'd have gotten to the Seattle players instead of that dude. And he got him to the Super Bowl. That's great. But I'm just sick and tired of the defense always being awful. Just always being – there's nothing ever good about the Falcons' defense, ever. And, yeah, so they scored 39 points. They get 4 turnovers, and they stuff 2 fake punts. And they still lose the game because that's normal.
Ricky hit a 53 and a 42-yarder in that game?
In the 18 game?
Yeah.
But he also missed the one after the
He did miss.
the lateral play that would have put them up by 9.
That is correct.
Because, again, it wasn't his fault they lost, but come on, man, make that kick.
What do you think about my guy Bailey Hockman out in Raleigh? Or actually, were they? Yeah, they were in Raleigh, weren't they? 16 to 23 for 191, a touchdown. 2 touchdowns, actually, but the other one was a pick 6, so it doesn't count for your touchdowns.
Right, yeah. Man, think about all the numbers Jameis would have set, all the records Jameis would have set last year if the pick 6 is counted for your own stats. That was good. I'm glad that happened for him. You have to tell people what you did, though.
Yeah, so he actually ran for a touchdown, too. So he finished the night like 16 to 23. I think he was like 14 of 18 at some point. So on the group text with Corey and Ira, I'm like, we're just kind of talking about what's going on in the world of college football. I'm like, hey, by the way, in Raleigh right now, Bailey Hockman's 14 of 18 for a touchdown and like almost 200 yards, and he hasn't turned the ball over. And they're winning. And then within like 30 seconds, Corey's like, just threw pick 6. Way to go.
I didn't know you had those kind of jinx powers, man, but that was incredible. Yeah. Over text, too. That was literally like I looked at my phone and I looked up and a Wake Forest guy was running in the end zone. I'm like, well, how did that happen? I thought NC State had the ball. And, and it was a crazy throw, too. Like Hockman is on the left hash, and he's throwing like a 12-yard out all the way to the right sideline. And, man, it's like the guy was open at first, and he actually threw it in a pretty good spot. Like it was right on the numbers to his receiver, but, of course, the college DB broke in front of the ball that was in the air forever and cut it back. But, yeah, nice game. It was good to see.
They scored 45 points in their first game of the season, so they could maybe even be a problem. So that's great. Like nothing happened where you look at any of the teams on Florida State's schedule and you're like, all right, I do feel good about, I don't know.
Duke, maybe?
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. Because you don't have to play Boston College. You're right. That's right. Yeah.
Duke, what was that, like 27-6 or something?
Yeah, figure it out. Come on, David Cutcliffe. For real, man. What's your problem? Should I jinx De'Aaron King? Or it won't work if I actually announce it that way. I don't know. I mean, it's I'm just trying to think. We'll be talking about this throughout the week, obviously, because it's the Miami game. But like, what is like a practical recipe to beat this team? I mean,
you got to make him beat you with his arm. But again, he hasn't done a whole lot of running in his. Like I thought, maybe they're saving it, and they haven't needed it. But I thought he was going to be more of literally a dual threat, like a guy that could run for 130 and throw for 250. Yeah. But literally, I don't know that he's ever had a game where he ran for 9 yards. Like just 8 carries for 9 yards. Some of those were sacks, but it just wasn't a big part of the game plan. It hasn't been yet. And maybe they're saving that for Florida State, but which would make sense, I guess, when you start off with UAB and then you're moving up and down the field against Louisville's ghost defense. But the
crazy thing is his offensive coordinator is Rhett Lashley, who was at Auburn when they had Nick Marshall. I mean, De'Aaron King, I think, is a better passer than Nick Marshall, but you figured he would. I mean, they mixed up. I mean, Nick Marshall was a huge part of what made Auburn run in 13. You would figure they would kind of maybe try to utilize him that way. But I mean, yeah, he played 4 games last season. He had 15 carries against Oklahoma, 6 carries against Prairie View. But I mean, it's Prairie View. You don't really need to embarrass them. 17 carries versus Washington State, 17 carries versus Tulane. He ran for 312 yards on 55 carries, so that's over 5.5 yards a carry, and that's 6 touchdowns.
And that's and remember, college football has the goofy rules where they count sacks as rushing attempts and rushing yards. So I bet it's instead of 55 carries, it might have been like 48. But also that's negative yards that he ran for, so he probably really averaged about 8 yards a rush on actual natural quarterback runs and scrambles. So yeah, man, that hasn't really been a part of his game yet, and it hasn't had to be. But I would, I just, as long as you don't give him wide open dudes, like legit, and I'm not talking about wide open like he was 3 yards in front of a guy. I'm talking about 20 yards in front of people or 20 yards behind people. If you make him go up and down the field and make him have to read the defense quickly, man, you can't just sit back and not rush any. Again, Louisville a couple of times rushed 3 and still left dudes wide open on the sidelines. They rushed 3 on like a 3rd and 21, and they picked up a 25-yard pass by the guy just running and stopping, and nobody went with him. Bizarre. So you just got to hope that you're better coached. You are better coached. I will go ahead and say that. You're better coached than Louisville's defense. At least Louisville looked on Saturday. And hope he makes some mistakes. Hope that, maybe the Florida State-Miami rivalry gets to him. I do think you're going to play better defensively. But
better than you did last week or better than what Louisville did, you think?
Well, both. If they play worse than Louisville did, then we got really big problems. And I think that, he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not an incredible passer. So just don't give him easy stuff.
Yeah,
Don't do what. And I don't want people to think that I mean like do what Florida State did against Virginia last year, because that guy wasn't considered a good passer. Well, any college quarterback, literally anyone, can complete the passes that the Virginia quarterback completed last year in the fourth quarter. Literally just 8 yards, turn around, I'll throw it to you in the middle of your zone. Make them harder than that. But you got to try to figure out a way to get some sort of pressure on without rushing 5 or 6. But I would also. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to play zone, coach it up, man, so they're not just wide open guys. That's what am I doing? What am I saying? You got to hope your defense plays better. That's my goals. That's how you stay close to Miami.
Are you more concerned about how you're going to slow Miami down, or are you more concerned about how you're going to put points up on them?
That's a Sophie's choice right there, buddy. That's a hard one. They're both not going to be easy. I would say
I do think you made a good point about that. The fact they did make Georgia Tech at least earn their points. So hopefully there won't be the misassignments. There won't be the ridiculous 6 guys staring at a quarterback as he flares out a pass to a running back who's totally unaccounted for and pads his stats with a 75-yard touchdown when all he did was throw it 3 yards to a guy that any of us could have thrown it to. So I think that's the key defensively. Just play sound defense and give yourself a shot.
But don't
offensively. I just wonder, like, you have to use their aggression against them at some point, right? Like your quarterback, you have to be able to do something dynamic, running the ball, and get some big plays popping off that way to open up and give you some time to throw it down the field.
Yeah, and you have to take shots. Last year against this defense, they had no ability to take a shot because who was playing quarterback? I mean, their line didn't help, but the quarterback just could not throw the ball more than 25 yards downfield. So it was pointless. James Blackman can throw the ball extreme distances. Hopefully he throws it extreme distances in the neighborhood of the Florida State receivers and guys that are open. But yes, you have to use their aggression against them, and you're going to have to hit some big plays. And at the same token, man, I don't know. I don't know if part of me is like, man, just pressure De'Aaron King. Do not let him just pick you apart by rushing 3, because he's been around too long, man. He's just been around. He's played a lot of football. I've been around, I've seen some things. That's my Al Pacino. He's played a lot of football, and you're not gonna just drop 8 and rush 3, and he's got 9 seconds to look. He's gonna find an open guy eventually. It's gonna happen. So I'm more inclined to just say, man, just do that. Just the opposite of that. I mean, like, put some pressure on him and make him make quick decisions and make him make quick throws against man pressure. Now, they are going to hit some plays. They're going to hit some plays downfield. They're probably going to hit some crossing routes against man. But at least make him have to wear some hits and at least make him have to make quick decisions, and don't give him all the ability in the world, all the time in the world to find guys in the middle of your zone.
Every single Miami starter on their offensive line graded out over 83. So that's a little bit concerning. I do wonder who they're going to put on Jordan. And maybe like Hamza, hey, welcome. You want to be first-round pick? Here you go. Here's your assignment. You're going to probably have to – or maybe Travis Jay. Travis Jay might be able to neutralize him. Hopefully.
On the tight end you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big body, though, man. I like Travis Jay. I think he's going to be good. Hamza is good if he's healthy. That's a tough ask. That guy's just he's just huge. But yeah, they're gonna have to figure that out. I think that's his go-to guy. But yeah, you just hopefully you pressure him enough into a few mistakes, and if you what do you think you have to hold him to win? 21?
Yeah, I think like you could win like 23-20, something like that. That's probably like your path to victory. If Miami gets out into the 30s, I don't know if this team's gonna be able to score 30. Not right now.
I would think that would be really hard. Yeah. But hey, you know what? It's
why
football.
They play the game, Corey. It's why
that's right.
They play the game.
I was just going to say, you know what? You're still watching college football, folks.
We are.
It beats not watching college football. even if your team is not performing all that well. You might I'm sure there's plenty of people that probably disagree with that statement, but I still enjoy watching college football, even if it's not enjoyable.
I do, and hey, they surprised us in 18. They played really hard down there. No reason to think they wouldn't be able to do it again. And maybe a couple guys have the game of their lives. It's not the recipe you want, but surely it's possible. Guys do some crazy things in some crazy games like this.
You're right. But hey, teams do it all the time all over the country. It doesn't happen. Florida State is certainly due to play above its head and go win a game that it's not expected to win. Or, the coaching staff might have to quarantine and you just play Miami later in the year or not at all.
As it stands right now, I owe you $19, Corey. The cheapest ticket on StubHub is $86.
But then you owe me $21. Come on, let's do some math, buddy. You said 65. I said it was going to be the difference between 65 and the actual lowest number.
I got the 5 and the 6.
All right, $21. I'll take that.
All right. We'll
and if Florida State had beaten Georgia Tech, boy.
Oh, gosh.
This would be game of the century 5.
Yeah. Amazing. Game day was
Florida
State.
If Florida State had beaten Georgia Tech like 31-14 or something, they would be like ranked 21 in the country.
Yeah.
Right? Don't you think?
Yeah.
Like Louisville was ranked.
Yeah.
They were 6-7 last year, I think, or 7-6. And they beat Western Kentucky, not by much, and they were ranked 18th in the country. So Florida State definitely would have been ranked if they could have beaten Georgia Tech. But you know what, Aslan? They didn't beat Georgia Tech. Central Florida did.
Well, there's 42 teams that played, so obviously only 21 won. There's 25 spots, so yeah, they would have to make room for us somewhere. Although I think some of these Big Ten teams were still ranked, so we'll see if how that shakes up. Yeah, I mean, I know this might have been the most uplifting podcast, so I kind of guess I apologize to everybody, but this is the world that we live in right now with this team. But we'll speak to the coaches on Monday. We'll probably get a good grasp of where they're at, where their head's at. Maybe speak to some players. I think we'll speak to players probably on Tuesday, though.
Yeah, we get them Tuesday and Wednesday.
But I think this will be a great test. This will be a nice sort of weather vane. This will be a GPS game, as they like to say in the industry. Kind of see where we're at, where we got to go, where we're headed. And yeah, I mean, we still kind of own the lease down there. Just because we lost one out of our last 6 down there doesn't mean it's like not our house any longer. So let's hold on to that lien. Let's hold on to that title down there.
Right on, buddy. I'm with you.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Do stay tuned over to warchant.com. Again, 12 o'clock, we will schedule to hear from Mike Norvell. We'll have live reaction, live transcription courtesy of Corey Clark, and a story to follow. And, yeah, we'll do a podcast. It'll be really great. Also be on the lookout for a story from Gene Williams and our own Michael Langston about the quarterback struggles and how we kind of got to this point. I think you might find it a little bit interesting. For Corey, I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, proudly presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.